Hello everyone, this is Madhavi Karamudi, Assistant Professor in CLC Department. In this lecture, I'll talk about JSP, one of the most important server-side technology. In the previous session, we have discussed about what is the JSP, what are the differences between servlets and JSP, how the JSP page is processed, and what is the life cycle of a JSP. All those things we have covered in the last session. So in this session, we'll completely concentrate on anatomy of a JSP page. So that means what are the internal components of a JSP page. So first of all, your JSP contains two important parts. One is template text, other one is JSP elements. So whatever content you will write other than JSP elements, then those content we are calling it as a template text. So it may be a HTML code, XML code, or normal plain text or JavaScript code. Now if you see the JSP elements here, in the first session I already told you, just like a HTML, in JSP there are some predefined tags. Okay, every Java code, each and every Java component we will place between angular bracket and percentile sign, and the tag ends with percentile sign and the angular bracket. So if you write any Java code between those two symbols, then that elements we are calling it as a JSP elements. Let us see the JSP elements first. First element is scriptlet. Next one, JSP declarations. This JSP declarations is used for writing the used for declaring the variables and the functions. And this scriptlet code and this scriptlet part is used for writing the actual request processing code. And see the JSP expressions. Suppose if you want to evaluate any expressions, that expressions we will write under the JSP expression part. Now JSP directives. So JSP directives means these are just instructions given to the JSP compiler. Suppose at the time of JSP page processing, if you want to include any contents for the processing purpose, then you can supply it by using JSP directives. Now next one is JSP action tags. Action tag indicates that in JSP we have some predefined tags. Those tags we are calling it as a action tags. So other than predefined tags, JSP has given flexibility to the user to create his own tags by using his custom tag libraries. So those tags we are calling it as a custom tags. These are all the JSP elements. Other than these JSP elements, if you write any content, that content comes under template text. See all these JSP elements one by one. First one is scriptlet tag. This is very important tag. In JSP page, if you want to place any Java code, that code we will write under the scriptlet tag only. So these are the symbols used for writing scriptlet tag, angular bracket, percentile symbol, and ends with the percentile symbol, angular bracket. So whatever code you will write under scriptlet tag, that will be directly added to the underscore JSP method of automatically generated servlet. Whatever content you will write under template text, that will be directly sent to the client. Now see the syntax of writing scriptlet tag. This is the between these two symbols. If you write any code, then that code will be considered it as a scriptlet. And we have one more way of writing scriptlet tag by using action tags. So JSP scriptlet tag, and it is closed with JSP :scriptlet tag. So between these two tags also, if you can write any Java code, then that will also be considered it as a scriptlet tag. This is the normal representation, and this is the action tag of JSP for writing scriptlets. Now see the second, see one example how to write a scriptlet. So here I am writing one simple example for printing IP address of a system. So here this is normal HTML content. So in the HTML body section, I am writing one hello message, hello world message. And see, here I am opening the angular bracket and percentile sign. Between these two signs, I am printing one message. That means this content we are calling it as this portion we are calling it as a scriptlet text. So whatever content you will write between scriptlet tag, this content will be directly attached to the underscore JSP service method of automatically generated servlet. So this is the method available in JSP for displaying the IP address of the system, get remote address method. This get remote address method is the method of request interface. That is the reason why we are invoking this method by using request object. Now this will be the output for this. First it will print a hello world message. If you see hello world message, I am writing outside this JSP element, right? So this hello world message will not be moved to the JSP compiler for processing purpose. So this text we are calling it as this entire text we are calling it as a template text. So template text directly goes to the client. Only this scriptlet text or JSP elements will goes to the server for processing. Okay. So because of this code here, we are getting the output like hello world and your IP address is so and so. Let us see the next JSP element is JSP declarations. So in any programming language, if you want to use any variables, compulsory we need to declare it. So in JSP, for declaring the variable, they have given one JSP element. Okay, so whatever elements you are declaring or whatever here under this JSP declaration section, you can declare normal variables and you can also declare the functions. And you can also write the code for creating the class objects. So whatever variables you will declare under JSP declaration statements, this code will be directly placed inside the JSP servlet class, automatically generated servlet class. But it will not be placed inside the service method. It will be placed outside the service method of that particular servlet class. Okay, see the syntax of JSP declarations. So always the declaration tag starts with exclamatory sign. Suppose if you ignore this exclamatory sign, then automatically it will become scriptlet tag. Okay, so angular bracket, percentage symbol, exclamatory sign, and here we need to write the declarations. Okay, so whatever declarations you will write under JSP declaration tag, this declaration will be directly attached to the class itself. Okay, so in the automatically generated servlet, right? And we can also declare the variables inside the scriptlet tags. Okay, suppose if you declare the variables inside the scriptlet tag, those variables will be attached to the underscore service method. So whatever variables that are declared inside the scriptlet tag, those variables becomes local variables to the underscore service method. Why? Because just now I told you whatever code you will write inside the scriptlet tag, that will be directly attached to the service method of automatically generated servlet. That is the reason why whatever variables you will declare inside the scriptlet tag, that will be added to the service method in the automatically generated servlet. So those variables will be considered as local variables of this service method. So you can't use those variables outside this service method. But if you declare any variables inside this declaration tag, then these variables will act as a global variables. So you can use those variables inside the service method and outside the service method also. Right? Let us see one example. This is the way to declare the variables. So angular bracket, percentage sign, exclamatory symbol, type of the variable, and you can assign the value directly to the variable there itself. Okay, here I am declaring one variable and here I am declaring 3 variables. Here I am creating one object of circle class. Okay, so inside the declaration tag, you can declare variables and you can declare methods and you can also declare objects of that particular class. So this is about JSP declarations. Now see, in JSP, there is one facility that there are few predefined variables. Those variables we can use in our JSP page anywhere without declaring it. So if those kind of variables, we are calling it as a implicit objects. See, in JSP, we have 9 implicit objects. These 9 implicit objects directly we can access in the anywhere of the application without declaring it. So that is the reason why these variables are called it as, or these objects are called it as implicit objects. See these objects one by one. First object is request objects. Suppose if you see servlet in servlet, if you want to use these objects, compulsory we need to create the object of that particular class. But here, no need to create the object of that particular class. Directly you can use this request, response, out, session, application, config, context, page, exception objects anywhere in your JavaScript, JSP script. Okay. So this request object belongs to HTTP servlet request object, and this response object belongs to HTTP servlet response object. This out object belongs to print writer object, print writer class. Session object belongs to HTTP session class. Application object belongs to servlet context interface. Config object belongs to servlet config interface. Page context object belongs to JSP writer, page context interface, and this is just similar to JSP writer. And page object belongs to page interface itself. Here, this page object is similar to this object in Java language. Okay, so exception object. So this exception object belongs to exception class. So this exception object allows us to store the exception information. So these objects, these 9 objects, we can use anywhere in our script without declaring it. Okay, that is the reason why these objects we are calling it as a implicit objects. Other than these 9 objects, if you want to use any other objects, then compulsory you have to declare it either under declaration section or inside the scriptlet section. Now see the next JSP element, that is JSP expressions. This JSP expression tag is used for evaluating the expressions that are placed inside this tag. Okay, first of all, it evaluates those expressions, then it will converts the expression into the result. That result will be sent back to the client as a client through the response object. Okay, see the syntax of this JSP expression tag. Again, same angular bracket, percentile symbol, but here the JSP expression starts with the equal to sign and ends with, as usual, percentile and angular bracket. See one example. So here inside this JSP page, here I am writing one JSP expression tag. So here I am writing one expression 2 plus 4 into 5. So whenever this expression is written, your JSP container evaluates this expression and it will generate the response result. That result will be sent to the client as a response, and that will be displayed on the client window like this. Okay, so the result will be displayed on the client window like this, right? Now see the next important JSP element, that is JSP directives. So what is the use of this JSP directives is, suppose if you want to give any directives, means these are just an instructions given to the JSP compiler. Okay, see here we have 3 directives. JSP is having 3 JSP directives. First, see the syntax of JSP directives. JSP directive statement starts with the @ symbol. So angular bracket, percentile, @ symbol, name of the directive. And here we need to specify the attributes of the directive, attribute name and attribute value. See here there are 3 types of directives in JSP. One is page directive, include directive, taglib directive. So by using this page directive, we can give the information about complete JSP page to the JSP container. So if you, by using this include directive, we can combine one JSP page content into another page content. Okay. By using taglib directive, we can create our own custom tags in the JSP. These are the 3 important directives available in JSP. Let us see one by one. First, we'll see the page directive. Okay. So in this page directive, we have lot of attributes, and each and every attribute is served for different purpose. See the first attribute. First attribute is import attribute. So this attribute is used to import the packages. So generally, while coding, we may need to include more than one packages. In such cases, this page directive attribute, this import attribute is very useful to us to allow more than one packages at the same place, separated by using commas. Okay, so how to use this import directive is angular bracket percentage sign. Directive statement always starts with the @ symbol and name of the directive. This directive, this import attribute belongs to page directive. So page import, here we need to specify the value. Suppose if you want to import IO package, so in this place, in the value page, you have to import java.io package. Okay. Now see the next attribute, session attribute. Okay. So generally, while building user interactive JSP applications, we will use this session object. So for maintaining the session information of the particular user. So we, while creating the application, we make sure to give the access to the user to get hold of his personal data till the end of the session. Okay, just see an example. Suppose if you are interacting with the online banking application, first of all, we need to log in into our bank account. Then we can access all of our data till we sign out, right? So in order to maintain session for a page, we need to use session attribute. Okay, so for this session attribute, we need to supply either true or false values. So generally, default value for this session attribute is true only. So this attribute is used to handle HTTP sessions for the JSP pages. Okay. Now see the next attribute, is error page attribute. So this is error page attribute is used for specifying whether your JSP page is error page or not. Okay. Okay, this attribute is used to specify whether the current JSP page can be used as an error page for another JSP page or not. If value of is attribute is true, that means that the page can be used for exception handling for another JSP page, right? So generally these pages have error or warning kind of messages whenever you handle your code is being called by another JSP page, when there is an exception occurs, right? Suppose whenever you specify the attribute value as false, that indicates that your JSP page is not an error page and it is not going to execute whenever the error exception is occurred in another JSP page. Okay, so for this attribute also we need to specify either true or false values. Now see the next attribute, JSP, error page attribute. So this error page attribute used along with the is error page attribute. So as I stated above, when is error page attribute is set to true for a particular page, then it means that that particular page can be called by another page in case of an exception. Okay, so here error page attribute is used to specify the URL of a JSP page which has is error page attribute is set to true. It can handle unhandled exceptions in the page. Just assume that in my JSP page, there is a exception. I want to send that exception to the, other page to handle it. Okay. So in that case, to which page I want to send that exception, that page URL we need to specify it here. Okay. And whatever page address you are specifying here, in that page, you need to set is error page attribute value as true. Then only that page can handle your exceptions. Okay. So this is about is error page attribute. Now see the next one is content type attribute. So this content type attribute is equal to set content type method in servlets. So this content type attribute is used for setting a MIME type for your JSP page. Now next attribute is thread safe attribute. So this is set thread space attribute, thread safe attribute also takes either true or false values. Okay. So let's see one simple example. Suppose you have created one JSP page and mentioned in that JSP page, you have mentioned is thread safe as true. It means that that particular JSP page supports multi-threading. Okay. So it can handle more than one thread. It can create more than one thread can execute the JSP page simultaneously. Suppose if you set the is thread safe attribute as false, then JSP engine will not allow you to execute multiple threads. Okay, it will allow you to execute only one request at a time using single thread. So that is the meaning of is thread safe attribute. Now see the extends attribute. Okay, so in JSP page also, if you want to inherit some of the class features into your JSP page, then you can extend your JSP page from some other class. Okay, so that inheritance relationship we can show it in our JSP page by using extends keyword or extends attribute. So here extends, and from which class you want to inherit, that class name you have to supply as a value. Okay, this is about extends attribute. Now coming to the info attribute. So this info attribute is used for giving information about your page, JSP page. So this info attribute is just similar to get servlet info method of servlet interface. Okay, in servlet interface we have one method, get servlet info method. So that method is used for printing the information about the servlet. Similarly, in JSP, we have info attribute in page directive. This is used for displaying the information about your JSP page. Now see the language attribute. This language attribute indicates that what language you are using in your JSP page for writing scriptlet. Okay, so here in most of the servers uses only Java language for writing the scriptlets. Previously, we can also they will also they have used JavaScript also for writing their scriptlets. But whatever server that are there now in the market, almost all the servers are using Java language only for writing their scriptlets. So here the language attribute specifies that what language you are using for writing the scriptlet or for writing your JSP page. That language name you have to specify as a value to this language attribute. Generally, we will write it as a Java language. Now see the next attribute, autoflush attribute. Okay, this autoflush attribute is used for means here also this autoflush attribute also takes either true or false values. If it is true, it means that the buffer should be flushed whenever it is full. Okay, if you set the value as false, that indicates that it will throw an exception whenever the buffer is full. Okay, so this autoflush attribute is simply used to flush the buffer whenever it is full. If you set the value as true for this, then automatically once the buffer is full, then that entire buffer will be flushed it off. And if you set it as false, then it will not be flushed. So it will throw the exception when the buffer is full. Now see next attribute is buffer attribute. So this attribute is used to specify the buffer size. If you specify this to none, here also for this buffer attribute we have to specify two values, either none or size of the buffer. That size should be specified in the kilobytes. Suppose if you specify this value as none during the code, then that output would directly return to the response object by using JSP writer. It will not be saved into the buffer. Suppose if you specify the buffer size, then the output will be first written into the buffer, then it will be available for response object and it will be written onto the JSP writer. Okay, this is about buffer object. These are the attributes available in page directive. Now see the second directive, that is include directive. So the main intention of this include directive is to copy the contents of one JSP page into another. If you see servlets, in servlets, this job will be done by using the request dispatcher interface methods. So in request dispatcher interface, we have two methods, include method and forward method. By using those two methods, we can dispatch or we can transfer our request to the multiple pages, or we can copy one page content into another page. But in JSP, that task can be done by using the include directive. Okay. So how to specify or how to copy one page content into another page is, so just write the JSP directive statement, %, @ name of the directive. Here the name of the directive is include, and to whom, I mean in which page you want to copy, that page address. Okay, that page address will be supplied by using file attribute. So this include directive contains only one attribute, that is file attribute. That file attribute indicates that from where to copy the contents. Next, see the last directive, that is tag lib directive. So basically this directive is used for creating the custom tags. So just now I already told you in JSP there is a facility to create our own tags. So if you can create your own tags, then those tags we are calling it as a custom tags. So that custom tags can be created by using this tag lib directive. So in next session, I'll explain how to create the custom tags using this tag lib directive with example program. So just try to understand the meaning of this tag lib directive, where we will use this tag lib directive. So how to use this tag lib directive is %, @ name of the directive. Name of the directive is tag lib. URI, here tag lib URI you have to specify. So in next session I will show you how to what URL you have to specify. So second attribute is prefix attribute. Okay, why we need to use this prefix attribute is, if you are creating your own custom tag, then every tag should be prefixed with some name. Okay, so what name you are using it as a tag prefix, that name you have to supply as a value to this prefix attribute. Okay, so this is about tag lib directive. So in JSP we have three directives. One is page directive. Page directive gives the information about complete JSP page, and include directive. Include directive is used to copy the contents of one JSP page to another JSP page. And third directive is tag lib directive. By using this tag lib directive, we can create our own tags in JSP. Okay, let us see one simple example. So this is one of the example program for using tag lib directive. Okay, this is not a complete example. So how to use tag lib directive in the JSP page I am showing here. Okay, but this is not a complete program. See, before your HTML code, you have to use this tag lib directive. That indicates that inside this HTML JSP page, whatever tag you are using, this tag belongs to this URL, and this tag is using one prefix called as demo tag. So that prefix here I am specifying. I'll explain more about this tag lib directive at the time of custom tags, right? So with this, I'm closing the session. So in this session, we have discussed about some of the JSP elements like JSP scriptlet tag, JSP declaration tag, JSP expression tag, JSP directives. So in next session, we'll discuss about JSP action tags and JSP custom tags. Hope you people understood this concept. So, okay, thank you. Thank you one and all.